This is a real treat. The Rachmaninoff All-Night Vigil is one of the most important pieces in the choral repertoire. It just changed how all composers write for choir. The piece is a little over 100 years old, but for most of its existence, people didn't know about it. Rachmaninoff writes this in 1915. It gets premiered. It's very successful, but it's very successful in Russia. And then the Communist Revolution happens, and sacred music is outlawed, and Rachmaninoff flees. And when he flees, he gets far more work as a pianist than as a composer. He didn't try and sort of market this piece in the West. And after communism fell, Robert Shaw was the first person to record the piece in 1990, and then suddenly everybody started doing it, including Oregon Repertory Singers in 1993. The whole choral world is awfully grateful to Robert Shaw for finding that piece and releasing that recording, because since then it's probably the single most recorded piece of choral music. I've looked online, there's over 50 professional recordings of that piece in the past 30 years. And that includes Oregon Repertory Singers from the 90s. For people like me who grew up, especially as an orchestral player, studying 18th century, 19th century music, classical, romantic music, the symphony goer, the opera goer's core repertoire, all the great choral composers of that era, they really didn't write for choir. They wrote for choir and orchestra. No one in this entire period wrote anything like this piece, an hour-long oratorio for choir and only choir, no orchestra. And to get the palette of sounds that's required to hold your attention for that period of time without the changes in orchestration is very challenging, and Rachmaninoff really rises to the challenge, especially for those of us that are fans of like late 19th century harmony, sort of the Mahler, the Bruckner, the Strauss, like that high romantic period. This is the piece for you, and this is the choral piece from that era. What's stunning to me is all the revolutionary ways that Rachmaninoff was writing in the 19-teens were still revolutionary in the 90s. Nobody else had thought about it, nobody else had replicated it. The idea of treating a choir like a mini orchestra, that each section could be divided into 2 parts to 3 parts to 4 parts, could be orchestrated separately. You know, most composers write for the choir as a chunk, or like one section with the melody and everybody else harmony, or maybe double choir back to back. But you'll hear in this piece a completely different style of writing. And if you came to hear The Path of Miracles last year, that's sort of like the next step to me in the evolution. No Rachmaninoff All-Night Vigil, no Path of Miracles. So like all of these composers since have really been inspired by this way of writing. I think Rachmaninoff captured something very special when he wrote this about how to write for choir that just really still speaks in the modern era. Rachmaninoff meant it for a giant choir like ours. The choir that premiered in the Soviet Union was 100 singers. This is your chance to hear this piece the way it was meant to be done, with a gigantic choir with big voices, with a lot of horsepower and a lot of musical skill. And I can't wait to share it with you all. Being in the room with these singers and this music is going to be a great way to start our 50th anniversary. Maybe the perfect way. I can't think of a better one. October 21st, 22nd, this is your chance to see it live in the Reser Center. You won't regret it.